All right, so we're hiding in the woods here with Sean Ingram from Coalesce. Day 3 Hellfest, which is kind of hard to believe. It's been busy, but yeah. Sean, new album, first in 10 years if we're not counting Salt and Passage. How does it feel to be, doing the press, booking the shows, booking the tours? Is it exciting?
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's kind of like it always was, so we're used to it. So metal's gotten, or hardcore, whatever you want to call it, it's gotten a lot bigger in the last 10 years. So this was unheard of. Motley Crue, Marilyn Manson, KMFDM, who would have ever thought? Yeah. I thought the Scion Fest was the shit, and it was totally. This is just, come on. This is ridiculous. It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, have you noticed the crowds have diversified along with that?
Here, yeah. We're at McDonald's before we came here, and it was like a heavy metal parking lot. Have you ever seen that documentary?
Yeah.
And we were making the joke that we weren't at McDonald's, but we're at McDonald's, because it was just metalheads everywhere. In the States, though, it's very different. I think it's more fragmented. Straight edge kids go to straight edge hardcore shows. Metalcore kids go to Converge shows. Metal people go to ISIS shows, and it doesn't really, they don't mesh. Like, for instance, back in the 90s, if a heavy band came to town, you went. Whether you were straight edge or whatever, when Prong came to town, everyone was at Prong. Everybody was, at those types of shows, whereas now, I think it would be different. Prong fans go to Prong shows, and there's so much variety now that maybe it's fragmented a little bit.
You guys said that, you all have families now and everything, and that you didn't want to rely on doing the band thing for, a living, which, is completely understandable, but was there any point in time that, you were aiming for that and just kind of realized?
Yeah, maybe in the 90s. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've only worked for 2 places my whole life. I've always started my own businesses. I'm always very driven to do things like that, and I think back in the 90s I drove the guys to do that, and it was a mistake. They didn't want to do it. This band was an escape for them, whereas to me it was like, hey, you know what, people are noticing us. I've never been involved with anything like this before. Why not see where it'll go? And it ended up imploding, many times. Friction between us, girls, money, vans, whatever. But so we definitely weren't on the same page. So it took several years for me to see it from their perspective, And it just so happens now that, we're just doing it for fun. More opportunities, it's like when you don't care, it shows up. Yeah. Kind of thing. So I don't know. Listen, if for some insane reason we were making more money and could support our families doing this, I think people would choose this, and our families are actually behind us. Whereas in the past, our families were not behind us. But now, the kids, we have 12 kids between us. My daughter thinks this is the coolest shit in the world. She got to sing on one of our EPs. It's not out yet. It's coming out in November. 11-year-old girl is actually screaming on a Coalesce record, and so they incorporating them into it, including them into it. It's like a family, kind of a family affair, so it's really cool. But yeah, I don't know. We don't really have any ambitions. Other than to have the strength to just give everything at a show. I think that's been our biggest fear on this tour is first 3 shows were ridiculous. They were dangerous, and that's what we like, that's what got us into this. In Kansas, there is a club called the Outhouse. And it was kind of like the CBGBs of the Midwest. And basically it was a box. It was very small, and it was in the middle of a cornfield, and there was no security, there was no nothing. It was basically self-run and run by skinheads. And so when you went to a show there, you were scared to death you're gonna get your ass kicked. And that was what was appealing, is that this music is dangerous, it's real, it's honest, and it doesn't pander to anything. And so our whole opinion of what we want to do with Coalesce is to actually, continue that attitude and continue having that feeling, because as soon as it turns into something towards a job, it's just it's off the table, because it's because this is hard work, If this is my real job, I'd quit. We're making the joke that Europe really actually means you're up all the time, We've got no sleep, so in that aspect it has to be fun, and it has to be an escape, and it has to be one of those things that anything goes on stage, so.
Again, here's Sean Ingram, Coalesce, fucking rad. High fives. High fives. Wicked.